Left, left, right, left.
Left, left, keep it in step.
Left, left, keep it in step.
We love to double time.
We love to double time.
We do it all the time.
We do it all the time.
Up in the morning, before day.
Up in the morning.
Hi, welcome to Moments with Mimi. And today we're going to look at some history subjectively. And one of my favorite characters in history is General Joe Stilwell. And his nickname was Vinegar Joe. And there was a reason. He had a real bite to him. General Joe Stilwell is a fascinating man. He came from a well-to-do family and went to West Point. A bit of a joker and trickster at West Point, but quite serious, and took his studies well. Everybody loved Joe Stilwell. From the soldiers to the generals, everyone in the Defense Department. Top to bottom, everyone loved Joe, and Joe loved the soldiers. He loved them. He loved them to bits. Now, some historians portray General Joe as racist. They portray him as mean, but that wasn't it at all, as often is the case, because they're seeing it through their eyes. One of the best historians, and one I absolutely loved, every book she wrote was a masterpiece, was Barbara Tuchman. And she would gather all this information and look at it from all the different angles and put you right there in it, where you were seeing it from the different players' eyes. And this was no different than in her book, Stilwell and the American China Experience. It's a great book. And it follows Stilwell. And you realize that it's everything in his life was pointing to one moment. Okay, it took him up to this one moment. And General Joe in World War I was assigned to the American Expeditionary Force and worked with the French, loved the French, and he did not like the British, okay, because the British commanders and such were, in his opinion, whiners. Okay, they were always finding something to be upset about and not, do what needed to be done, and arguing. And the French were like, yeah, okay, we'll go try that. Sure, Joe, let's go do that. So, it was this love relationship with the French and a hate relationship with the British. And it was because of the way the British trained their soldiers and the way the higher staff looked at the soldiers, whereas the French were more inclusive of everyone. The general was no better than, the infantry guy. Whereas in the British, there's a command here. And this irked Joe to bits. He didn't like Eisenhower. He didn't like, he loved Eisenhower. He didn't like Roosevelt. He did not like, Chiang Kai-shek. He did not like many people. And if you looked at it closely, you saw that they were authority. They weren't thinking. And this drove him nuts. If you did not have discipline and you did not stop and think, what are you talking about? So one of his, what some historians portray as his nemesis, was Doolittle. And it was because the two were fighting for resources in the same theater. And Doolittle wanted to promote the Air Force and using airplanes. And Stilwell was like, no, okay, we need to arm these men here, these Chinese men, and we need to teach them how to fight. We've got millions of them. This is where the money needs to go. So it was that kind of thing going on. But because of his disdain for authority and his refusal to accept, what they deemed had to be, he was not looked upon very well by Roosevelt and those powers. So Stilwell had in World War I was hanging with the French, saw the horrors of the trench warfare, the forced marches. It was really how to not, really win a war. And he took those experiences with him to the Philippines and China. And he was stationed there between the two world wars. He studied Chinese, he studied the Chinese, and he loved the Chinese. He absolutely loved them. And he understood what Dr. Sun was doing, and he was wholeheartedly for it. But Chiang Kai-shek was another story. Okay. And when Sun died, Chiang had married Sun's sister, so Chiang Kai-shek became the leader of that political party, and that political party took over. But not really, because you had Mao in the countryside, and so you had the communists, and Chiang was always worried about the communists. And you can see from what we have today what that worry got him. Okay, it got him run off to Taiwan, and Mao got mainland China. So we're dealing with these things to this day from these people's decisions and responses. And China loves Stilwell. He helped them build the Burma Road between the wars, and this was to help facilitate supplies going to all ends of the Chinese boundaries and borders. And because of that effort, they named the Burma Road later the Stilwell Road. It was the Lido Road, and it became the Stilwell Road. And so in World War II, Stilwell was actually supposed to be, Eisenhower. But because of his deep rooted work in China and knowing the Chinese and their culture and all about them and knowing their language in and out, he was told he was too valuable in China for him to lead, the forces in Europe. So Eisenhower got Europe, and Stilwell got sent to China, and it's the China-Burma theater. And he and Chiang Kai-shek, just did not get along. Chiang wanted to take all the things that America was sending through the Lend-Lease program and hoard it. Okay? I'm saving this for the time when the communists come. Everyone's getting overrun. Okay? You've got the rape of Nanking happening in 1933. You've got the Japanese all around you attacking you. And Chiang was taking the, Russian, we're going to fall back, but he wasn't destroying everything as he fell back. And he was too worried about the communists. And Stilwell even met with Mao and admired Mao. He didn't care for the communism, but he really liked the way he loved the people and loved the ones who were trying to lay their lives down for others. So a moment comes, everything that Stilwell had learned, everything he had done, and one of the stories that Barbara Tuchman relates about Stilwell is he had invited a couple of his staff officers to dinner at his home, and he told them 6 o'clock, it's dinner time. be there at 6. They showed up at 6:05 and knocked on the door, and they were told that, dinner started and we're sorry, you know, you missed the boat, and shut the door on them. And this was for discipline. And they were, had their noses out of joint. And later he told them, you must have respect for others and for yourself. Others have been told that dinner is at 6. You chose not to arrive on time for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. And we're sitting down at 6 to eat. I'm not going to make my family suffer and wait for you, okay, so we can eat. No, dinner's at 6. We eat at 6. You don't do that. You respect me enough to be at my table at 6 if you want to eat dinner with me. It's okay if you don't want to eat dinner with me, but don't show up at 6:05 and expect everybody to fall over themselves to let you in and catch you up to the meal. No, get over it. You need to learn this because this is part of soldier discipline. You must make sure everything is in place. You must make sure everything is done properly. And so when the time comes that you need it, it's there for you. You don't wait and I'll do that in 5 minutes. It'll be there later. No, you be disciplined. So he's very disciplined. He was very into that. And he was not awake. He was not an awakened individual, but he was someone on the road to that. And honestly, I don't think Stilwell was awakened because he died shortly after World War II. But I think he was, on his way to that. And it's really wonderful, this one moment in time. And I'm going to read it from Barbara Tuchman's book because she says it so well. And basically, I'll set the scene. He wants to meet with his troops. He sent them off. The Japanese have almost surrounded them. Doolittle's men have shown up. We're going to fly you out of here, General Joe. He's told them, no, thanks. Nobody asked you to come. Appreciate the effort. Go back. But, sir, you're surrounded. No, I'm not. I'm meeting my troops. And so the stage is set, and he finds himself surrounded, and he has to drop everything. All motorized vehicles. He had to get off the train, and then he got some motorized vehicles, and even that had to stop it. There was only one way out now. So he's been put in this impossible trap. It looks impossible. So it was really important that everyone understand the circumstances that they were in. He had said, okay, dump all the trucks, drop everything. And then he assembled his group, May 6th. And he discovered when he assembled them that there were 15 newcomers. They were British commandos, unshaven, dirty, half-starved, led by an officer, General Davidson Hudson. Where'd you come from? He snarled. Got any rations? They shook their heads. He glared and agreed to let them stay. This man had just spent his night in Gethsemane, and Lord, help me get these people out of here. So we're going to get out of here. We're going to get out of here. And he got his answer. And so he assembled everyone, gets these unexpected newcomers, but it was meant to be. And so the party now numbered 114, of which 19 were nuns. And he had, everybody had sent their last messages because they were dumping the radio truck. And they burned copies of all their stuff so it wouldn't get into the Japanese hands. And then, you know, a miracle happened, and a Chinese pack of train of 20 mules showed up, and they commissioned that. And so the next day, he stood on a truck at daylight to address the company. Stilwell explained the plan of march and laid down his rules. All food to be pooled and all personal belongings discarded, except for what each person could carry, in addition to weapon and ammunition. A journey of some 140 miles lay ahead with a river and a mountain range to cross. The pass lay at 7,000 feet. They had to make 14 miles a day. Any slowing of progress would require more food than they had, and would risk being caught by the rain season, the monsoons. They had to do this within 2 weeks, 140 miles, 14 miles a day. Anyone who did not wish to accept his orders could leave now with a week's ration and try to get out of there in your own way. He looked around and said, okay, then you're with me. By the time we get out of here, many of you will hate my guts. And I will tell you one thing, you'll all get out. And they did. Every single one of them got out alive. And the nuns sang while they marched. At the head of the column, he set the pace at the regulation army of 105 steps a minute. We're getting out of here. And if you couldn't keep up with 105 steps a minute, you got berated. Come on. These nuns are doing it and they're singing. Get going. Move it, move it, move it. So later when the, hearings and stuff happened about it, he, the British weren't very nice about him, but they did all admit, yeah, but he kept his word. We got out. Yeah, I hated his guts, and he said I would. And he said I'd get out, and I got out. So for that, I'm eternally grateful. And a lot of historians leave that little part out. So then when he got back to the States after the march, and they got out, and he had a press conference. And in that press conference, he stated, when he was asked, what do you think happened? What went wrong? He replied, anyways, I think we got our asses kicked over there. I think we need to figure out what we did wrong and go back and kick some ass. And he was recalled because he pissed, FDR off. And Marshall couldn't stop that time, Stilwell was not one to hold his tongue. If you're being stupid, you're being stupid. They love to look in his diary and say, oh, look, he called FDR rubber legs. He called Chiang Kai-shek peanut. Yes, because he's holding their belief of their authority in derision, which is what the Bible tells you. So if you've been doing that in your life, you've always been, I fight authority. Screw you, you can't tell me what to do. And that, are you crazy? You're being a nut. You know that, right? Stilwell was Saul becoming Paul. He was righteous. He had no fear, no doubt, no guilt, loved himself, disciplined, persist, focused, All the things in his life came together so he would be in China at that moment to save those people's lives. The story's over. It's been written. You're filling in the details. You don't know that, okay, until you come to these laws. You're filling in the details, okay? Go imagine the end, and then the details will come and fill it all in. And it's really wonderful. You know, he died in 1946. This is a man who was marching through the Burmese jungles and over the Himalayan mountains. You know, not a year before, 2 years before. And he died of stomach cancer. Yes, he maligned anyone who was in authority, who didn't think, who had no discipline, who appeased others. No, you stand up for yourself and you don't do that. And that's what he believed with all his heart. You know, and he believed in God. And he knew that if he just stopped and thought about it, he would get an answer and he would find a way. And he did. So this is the kind of love that, you know, it's a blind love. You know, some people call it blind faith. I don't care what you call it. It's the love of, no, things always work out well for me. If I apply this, I know it's all going to work out well for me. I didn't say it would be easy, you know, but I did say you'll get out alive. Come on, you know, and you could see he never worried about his health. What he was worried about was getting these people out of here. The British were worried about their health. The British were already tired when they joined Stilwell, and just were compounding their problems. The nuns didn't worry about their health. They're singing, "I'm with God right now. Got a man to the rescue." You know, it's all going to work out well for me. Things always work out well for me. They work out well for you and me and everybody else. You know, and the British, this whole trip is a microcosm of how it can be. You know, he's leading, he's saying, come on, these ladies are singing, they're giving people food, water, smiling, washing their faces, telling them, come on, it's always getting better. And then, you know, there's the British. Oh, this sucks. Oh, my belly hurts. Oh, my feet hurt. Oh, this is drag. It's so hot. Oh, man, these mosquitoes, they're everywhere. You know? Stop it. Focus. 105 steps a minute. March, march, left, right, left, right. You had to get on, but you left. You're right. Focus. Focus on the mundane task. You are just marching, 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 marching. Where do you really want to be? I'm at home with my wife, in my garden, with my dog. I'm getting out of here. And they got out of there. And he knew if he did that, he would get out of there. So he's a really interesting character. I love him to bits. He's, some call it being opinionated. I call it sticking to your guns. So, you know, I hope you'll check him out. I'll leave a link below to Barbara Tuchman's book on him. It's a fascinating book, and she's really a wonderful author. I think you'll really appreciate the way she digs into history and presents all the sides so that you can see, that was the moment. That was the moment. That was so cool. Look how all these things came into play for bringing into that moment. So I hope this helps. Blessings to you. And thank you. Thank you for being you. Enjoy General Joe. I like some vinegar on my potato chips. Have a good one.
General Joseph Stilwell interviewed by reporters at his Carmel, California home. Vinegar Joe keeps mum on the situation that brought his recall from China. with Mrs. Stilwell in their peaceful garden. Quite a contrast to the Burma jungles he's fought through for nearly 3 years. Then a romp on the beach with his dog, Gary. General Stilwell, good soldier that he is, waits quietly for his next assignment.
Left, right, left.
Left, right, left.
Left, keep it in step.
Left, keep it in step.
We love to double time.
We love to double time.
We do it all the time.
We do it all the time.
Up in the morning before day.
Up